So, David, we've been talking for a while now about what it's like for you working as a technical writer for computer companies. And I gather you're really not happy doing that and that it's kind of brought your whole life down. Yeah, I feel like I took a big detour when I became a technical writer. And I tried to get used to it. I make good money. I'm actually pretty good at it. I get work coming in all the time. I know some people like it. My girlfriend likes it. She's becoming a manager, but it it always feels like I'm a stranger in a strange land whenever I go into work, and that I have to be a kind of different version of myself. And the work itself, except for the playing with the computers and some of the people there, it just doesn't grab me. So I understand that, and we could go on talking about this for the rest of the session if you'd like, but I had a different idea. I'm visiting here from the future for only a short time, and I'd like to make the best of our time. And my idea is actually to send you into the future too, but not deeply into the future, just one day, but a very special day. Are you game? Well, it sounds a little odd, but I'm a science fiction fan, so why not? Go for it. I'd like to ask you a special sort of question, and I think it might help you. Well, what kind of question? It's called the miracle question, and it's a way for you to envision a future in which your problems from today and your concerns from today are no longer your problems and concerns. Well, that would be great, but I can see why you call it a miracle. It would be a miracle for that to happen. Well, it's called the miracle question because it's a miracle that you can actually create. And this is a four-part question. The first part is being able to see that miracle. So if you're ready, I can ask you that question now. Maybe it'll take 20 minutes to do the whole thing. Okay, shoot, I'm game. So imagine that we finish up this talk and you go off and you do whatever you would do with the rest of today. And then tonight you just do whatever you do, just a normal day, normal evening, and then you go to sleep. But while you're sleeping, a really strange and wonderful thing happens. And the strange and wonderful thing is that a miracle occurs. And the miracle is that all the problems and concerns you have today, your concerns about work, the depression, relationship issues, anything that's been a problem for you now, it's all solved. Could be things we've already talked about, things you haven't mentioned yet, but whatever brought you here to have this conversation, all those problems and concerns are solved. Well, that would be great. There's one little catch, though. The thing is, while this miracle occurred, and when you wake up tomorrow, you are in that miracle day, and 24/7 from now on, you will be living that miracle life. But the miracle happened while you were sleeping, so when you wake up, you don't know what happened. You don't know that anything is any different. As far as you're concerned, it's just another day. So the first part of the question is, what do you notice from the moment you wake up in how you feel, in your surroundings, in what you do, and as you go through your day, hour by hour, that's different? That's different in the way that something that's a problem or a concern today is no longer a problem or concern. Well, the first thing I notice is that I wake up and I feel rested. And I don't really remember my dreams, but I know that they've been pretty pleasant dreams because I feel pretty good. And I'm looking forward to the day. Today I barely want to get out of bed, and it takes 2 or 3 cups of coffee just to get me going. But tomorrow, in this miracle you're talking about, I want to wake up. There's a lot of things I want to do. I also notice that I'm not living in Salem anymore. I'm living in some place a little more peaceful, a little more quiet, and where I have more space, and I don't have to commute anywhere. I'm pretty near where I have to go, and now that I'm thinking about it, where I have to go is graduate school. That's it. I've picked up the path that I dropped 10 years ago when I hurt my back, and now I'm in school again. And I'm living with somebody. I don't really know who she is, but we have a good relationship. I think it's been going on for a while. And so in the morning, instead of what I usually do, which is just drink a lot of coffee and shove some toast into me and then drive into Cambridge, I don't have to do that anymore. We spend the morning together, eating breakfast, talking. She's in graduate school too. We're both writers, and we live in a place where we each have set up a little office, and I've got a project I'm working on. I think it's a novel. And I feel really relaxed too. I feel excited and relaxed at the same time. Right now I feel mostly just, the way I call it is like tired and wired. But in this day it feels different. And so after breakfast she goes off to class and I go into my office and I turn on my laptop and I just start writing. I don't really have to wait for inspiration. The story is in my head. It's something I think about even when I'm doing other things. And I write for a couple of hours, and I drink a little more coffee. Then I break for lunch. I make myself a salad and a tuna fish sandwich, have a cup of tea, take a little walk around the neighborhood. It's kind of a nice neighborhood. I live on like the lower flat of a house, sort of like my grandparents' house. And then I go back into the house and I have some work to do for one of my classes, and I'm going to be teaching later. That's right, I'm also teaching. Teaching English composition, just one class. I have a stipend, I think. So go on. What else do you notice, as you walk through the day? You're about to leave the house. Where do you go? So I get in my car, and actually it turns out I live a little outside town, and I drive through some really beautiful rolling hills. I don't know really where it is. It still seems like it's somewhere in the Northeast, but I don't think it's around Boston. And I get into the campus, and I have an office there. I share it with another graduate student. And I have office hours. A couple of students from my class come in, and I really like that part of teaching. I like the facilitating part, and I like the office hours. I'm not really that big on the stand-up part, but it's okay because these people are here to learn. And even the ones that are like math majors and are just taking an English class because they have to or they think it's an easy credit, they work pretty hard. And I work pretty hard for them. And it feels good. It's sort of heartwarming. It's not, as I'm thinking about it, like the worst day doing this is probably better than the best day I had when I was doing technical writing. I've always liked teaching. I did a little teaching when I was in college. I taught in a free school, and this feels like that, except the kids are older. So go on. So you're in your office with the office hours, and then what happens? Well, then I go to class. I've got a class in some kind of postmodern something, maybe. Or maybe it's a creative writing class where I'm working on my own work. I can't really tell, but I'm interested in it. And I like my colleagues, and we're friendly with each other. And maybe after class we go out and get a drink somewhere or get a cup of coffee and hang out for a couple of hours. And then I come back and I grade papers in my office. And then I drive home, and it's evening by now, and it's sort of pleasant. And my girlfriend is also coming home, and we make dinner and hang out for a while. And each of us spends a little bit of time doing our own thing. I do a little more writing because I feel up to it. I'm interested in that, and read one of the books for one of my classes. And then we go to bed, and that's nice too. And then I go to sleep, and that's my first miracle day. So, as a result of all this, how do you feel at the end of the day? I feel satisfied. I feel satisfied, like this was a good day, and it's part of a series of good days, and this is the life I want to be in right now. And I wouldn't change a minute of it. So that sounds really great. What do other people notice about you that's different? I think they see the same sorts of things I see in myself, that I'm more excited. There's kind of a light in my eyes. I'm energized by the rapport with my students and with my colleagues, and we support each other. We go to each other's readings. Sometimes we do collaborative work. We go to conferences together. It's really different from the way I feel now, where I'm just in a cubicle and I have some relationship with the programmers and my editor, my manager. I mean, people like me there. They'd probably be surprised to find that I feel the way I do about technical writing, but it's just not for me. This life we're talking about now, that's more like who I want to be, and I think maybe who I am. Now I'd like to ask you another part of the question, and that is to just reflect on everything you just told me about the miracle life, and also reflect on aspects of your life today, and try to give me an estimated score where 1 is you're as far away from the miracle world you just talked about, and 10 is you're in that world 24/7. And think about aspects of your life that are there in part or in whole or even just as an idea, and factor that in when you come up with the score. So I'm not a 1, because 1 was probably right after I wrecked my back. I was really a mess then, and I was in a lot of debt, and I didn't know if I'd ever get better. I was in a lot of pain. But I don't think I'm even halfway there. Halfway there, I'd have at least a plan. I have had an idea. I've had the idea that maybe I should, reapply to graduate school, try to get a fellowship, probably a teaching fellowship like I've been talking about. So it's been in my head. And I still do a little bit of writing on the side, hardly any. I mean, maybe it's an hour a week. Technical writing takes most of that out of me, but I'd say right now, factoring everything in, I'm about a 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 sounds good. So 3.5, that's a little more than a third of the way there. So now you know where you want to go. You know where you are now. You know kind of where you started. Where the rubber meets the road in this process is constructing what I think of as experiments. There are things you could do, or even things you could change how you feel, or things that you notice that you believe will move you from your current 3.5 some increment towards a 10. You could move a whole point. You could move a fraction of a point. It doesn't really matter. The idea is just to come up with something that in some way to advance your score. All right, I think I get it. I'm not exactly sure what to do. So this is your miracle, right? When you come up with an experiment, try to come up with one that is sort of right-sized. You don't want it to be so difficult that you don't attempt it. You don't want it to be so easy that it's like nothing happened. You don't want it to have to depend on a particular outcome. You want just the doing of it to advance your score. What are some areas of your life that you might want to address and possibly change? It might be a little challenging, but I think you're up for a challenge. Well, the thing we've been mostly talking about is work. That's really where I felt like I took a wrong turn. And that's probably the area that I need to change. And I'm not sure how I could do this, but, when I was talking about being back in school, it was like I got back on the horse that threw me. And maybe I could ride it to the finish line. So I'm thinking maybe I could apply to graduate schools again. I'm not sure how I'd pay for it. I do have some savings, though, and maybe I could get a teaching fellowship, sort of like I imagined. And I don't know, that feels pretty good to me. Okay, that sounds like a good experiment. You're just applying. You're not figuring you're going to be there like in the miracle. And so that's a doable thing. how do you think that would affect your score? Right now, you're 3.5. I think if I got in and I got a fellowship, I'd go from a 3.5 to at least a 6. But just applying, I think I'd be a solid 4 because I'd have taken a really concrete step towards doing exactly what I dreamed about. And I could start thinking about different parts of the country, different types of places I'd live in. I'm not sure if my girlfriend would come with me or if the person I imagined was somebody new, but I don't think that should stop me. You have a clear idea what you want to do. You have a good idea of how it will affect your score if it works out the way you hope. By next week, you could look into different places and you could start building an application towards one. And we can check in next week and see what you do and how that really affects your score. That's great. If this comes to pass, it really will be a miracle. And I feel almost a little bit like I'm already there. So in some sense, maybe I already took the first step just by answering this question. Thank you. I hope that this demonstration has given you a better idea of how to use the miracle question in your own life. It's the core technique for almost all the therapy and coaching I do, and it's also a big part of what I still use today to envision new goals and to stay on track to meet them.